world's most respected MMO news site, Massively Overpowered, comes a programme that pits one MMO against another in a battle of wits. To the death. Welcome to Massively Opinionated. Media personalities from all over the internet come to this forum to face off in the ultimate debate. Everyone is entitled to their wrong opinion, but ours is the only one that matters. Having heard that someone was wrong on the internet, it's your host, Larry Everett!
Hey everybody, this is Larry Everett with Massively Overpowered, and you are watching Massively Opinionated, the show where we take MMO tropes and pit them against each other in a battle to the death. And this week's episode is all about handling those troublesome people that happen to come into your game every once in a while. In fact, all of these questions, except for the last one, are from one of our Massively Opinionated watchers. It is Bjorn. I'm gonna mess up his name, and I apologize profusely. We call him Viking, but his name is Bjorn, and we'll just call him Viking from now on because he likes that. Anyway, appreciate all the questions from him, and so let's get into let's introduce our panelists today. We have a reigning champion here on Massively Opinionated. We have Jason Winter from MMOBomb. How's it going, sir?
3-0, baby. 3-0. Gonna be full.
That's right.
But, as a football fan from Minnesota, I approve of questions from a guy named Viking.
That's right. All right, and we also have from his YouTube channel, The Cosmic Engine, we have Michael Brown. How's it going, Cosmic?
Hello. I'm alright, yeah. You?
Are you excited for this?
I'm scared now. It's like raining chicken. Like,
he is. Yeah, it's crazy.
Gone.
Yeah.
You just concede now if you like. We'll just.
I'll just lay over. I'll just lay down.
All right. So let's begin here with the with the rules. I should go over the rules here first.
No, we don't need rules.
Okay. So the rules. What I've done is I've sent these gentlemen 4 questions ahead of time, and so that they had time to discuss them with themselves. And
So Jason, what do you think about that?
That's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. And then they have time to research and get their answers squared away, and then what I'll do is I'll ask them a question at the end of the discussion. They debate it back and forth. For each, they'll argue it out, and then for each argument, they'll get a point. And at the end, whoever has the most points wins the internet. And so far, Jason has been on. Is it 4 times you've been on? You've been on 4 times, and yeah. So Jason hasn't lost.
The last time you were on, didn't I win? Last time?
No, last time.
We'll have to review the tapes on that one.
Have to see.
go back to the instant replay.
But either way, the seed of doubt is sown.
Oh. All right. So, first question, and I'll throw this one to our reigning champion first. The question is, game forums, they're like cesspools sometimes of horrible people, and so I asked, what is the best way to moderate the forums to reduce the amount of terrible people? So go ahead. What was your answers? What are your thoughts on this?
I say you bring out the ban hammer. I am all for a total zero tolerance policy when it comes to the personal attacks, all the different crap and so on that people do. Yeah, you can disagree politely and bring up good reason, whatever. That's fine. But when you just go into, you're bleeping stupid or whatever, or call people names, whatever, that's crossing the line. And I think a lot of times forums, I agree that they sort of let stuff go sometimes. When you get the really, really awful stuff, yeah, just about anybody will ban it. But a lot of the times I feel like they're just a little too lenient when they come to letting people go at each other in some level. And you need some of that. You need some sort of a bit of a leash. But at some point, you got to be able to step in and say, all right, just knock it off. And you need to have, published rules beforehand that basically say, don't be a dick. Don't be don't be a major dick. You can be everyone is gonna be a little bit of a dick online, but I think that because a lot of people get on forums and they do it not just on game industry forums, but all over the internet, people just do and say whatever they want because they know there aren't any repercussions. You're not going to be booted off, a chat room or anything like that usually, or Reddit or anything like that. Usually for being a kind of a jerk and flaming and whatever. So they get into a forum run by a game company. They think they can just be the same kind of assholes that they are everywhere else. And because of that, I think they just let themselves go. And a lot of times the companies don't necessarily, they don't want to be seen as oppressive. They want to be, want to have free and open debate. And to some extent you need that, but I think you got to be really hard. You got to just come down on them when they are being jerks. No matter how much they're going to complain about, what's freedom of speech? We should be able to say anything you want. Yeah, no, you want to be here. You want to be on our forums that we're running. You play by our rules. You don't like it? Go talk somewhere else. There's plenty of different places you can talk about the game, do whatever. But if you're going to do it here, you got to play by our rules and do what we say.
All right, so banhammer more often, more frequently,
yes.
pretty much is policy there. All right, so
permanent or temporary, depending on the interaction level.
All right, Cosmic, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's one of those things that, I mean, let's say what we're talking about. We're talking about a vocal minority rather than the majority, because it is always the vocal minority who fill up the majority of forums with the toxic environment that they usually have. And I think you could ban them. I think the problem with forums is that there's no real accountability usually. I mean, because developers tend to kind of worry about banning people from the game just because of their forum behavior, which I don't really think that's okay. I think you should be, if you get banned from one, you should be banned from both. But I think the best way to stop any forum devolving into a cesspool is moderators. Hire really, really good moderators, because I have seen forums done right and simply they have survived and flourished simply by having great forum moderators. I mean, there's lots of things you could do. You could, put in paywalls. You could link the game and, ban one, ban from the other. There's loads of different things you could do. Some heavy-handed, some not. But I think the key is moderation. Have great forum moderators there who are always on there, and just as soon as they say something getting out of hand, they'll just nip it in the bud right there, right? And once people know that there are active forum moderators right there, looking over your shoulder, making sure that you're kind of being civil to everybody else, it kind of peters out. I have seen some, pretty good MMOs that have had terrible forums, and then I've seen some pretty good MMOs that have great forums, and it's all been, every single time, has been down to moderation. Every single time. It's careful, considered moderation, clear rules, and then the moderators just step in like that, because developers don't really have time to handle all the social issues.
And then you're saying because the moderators are there, they don't have to ban as often.
Yeah, they don't have to ban as often. If they have to ban, then they have to ban. But it's about they're there. It doesn't have time for a big forum to get like 20, 30 people, being aggressive towards one developer. That thing never happens, because as soon as it starts, as soon as there's that indicator that forum's going to go south, it's done.
Yeah,
that's it. And I think forum moderation is just, out of any other way that you could structure something, having great forum moderators is the best way to go.
All right. So, what are your thoughts about that, Jason? Are you?
I think you should have terrible forum moderators.
Well, obviously, we all want good forum moderators, but I mean, basically, what Cosmic is saying, then, from my understanding, is that there needs to be, as opposed to just banning. As opposed to increasing the banning, we need to increase the presence of the moderators, whether that's hire more moderators or just have them on more often.
Well, obviously, I mean, and they're kind of the same thing. I mean, if you're going to have to, do my thing of banning people, you have to have good forum moderators to do it. The kind of issue you run into, and having more moderators is good, but the kind of issue you run into a little bit is that as your game grows, if you have a bigger game, you have more people on the forums, you need more moderators. But moderators, they have to have the confidence of the company behind them. If they are going to ban somebody, they have to know for sure that that the company will back them up when they ban somebody or put any other kind of sanctions or whatever. Because otherwise, someone's going to come in and be like, "Oh, well, I was banned by Joe, the moderator, who's been here for like 3 days and he never does anything." But it's different from if it's the community manager, the actual employee, then that's something else. The issue is, though, like I said, as your game gets bigger, you have to bring on, of course, more forum moderators to help moderate that sort of thing. And then, the more you bring on, the less likely you're going to have necessarily getting someone who's a really good moderator. You might get someone who's gets a little power mad or whatever, like some of them tend to do it occasionally. And it becomes harder to invest that kind of power in them and that kind of confidence. So, yeah, you do need good forum moderators. That's just a difficult thing as you get bigger and bigger and more popular.
Well, maybe I think that could be true, but at the same time, that's down to the company. At the end of the day, it's down to your hiring process and what you're looking for and investing in people rather than just trying to get a load of moderators in, invest in some full-time moderators that have a proven track record, that you've trained up, that you've invested time and money in, and that always pays off. That always comes away. If you invest in your employees, that always returns. And I think it's the case of, like I say, I wouldn't have your forum mods be fans or players. I would have them as employees. With an employee.
We don't want to do that.
I don't know. I don't see the problem with it. It's one of those things. It's because, like you say, when you've got fan moderators, you get the problem of people going power crazy and stuff like that on occasion, and you get the problems that's entwined that make them full-time employees with contracts and everything like that, and then that stops that from happening, and there's more responsibility and there's more accountability on both sides.
Okay, well, this is that's a little bit difficult to okay. So basically, you're all for hiring, making sure that these guys are employees, and so I mean, what kind of difficulties then do we run into? The question I asked then is as far as because when you're hiring people, that costs money. That's more money that you have to invest into your forum. And it's obviously not as simple as Jason's solution. So what is, I guess, the question then that I would have is what is the benefit to investing into?
There's lots of benefits.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, as a player, if you're trying to attract new players, right, and you want to engage, I mean, let's talk. MMOs are about communities, right? That you play with other people, you meet other smaller communities, etc., etc. If you hire moderators to foster a really good culture in your forum, that's investing directly in your community, because people won't be afraid to speak up in your forum, give feedback, because at the end of the day, there is a silent majority of MMO players out there who don't participate in forums because if they say something moderately reasonable, they'll get shot down and abused, right? This is what happens. If you foster a forum culture that promotes reasonable feedback and good discussion and civility, you're investing in your community, and then those players feel part of that community, that they can interact with others, and that they are listened to in effect. So yes, it costs more, it's more time consuming, and it has its own set of problems, like any solution does. But at the same time, I don't look at it as I'm hiring employees. I'm looking at it as I'm investing in my community to foster a really good MMO community.
I agree. Modern people will come into the forums and get shot down and abused, which is why I need to bring the ban hammer to the people who abuse them.
Well, that's okay. So what I would like to hear is it sounds the spin that Cosmic is putting on it, which is I think it's reasonable spin, is that that this is positive reinforcement of community standards, whereas a banhammer is more of a negative reinforcement of community standards. And what I'd like to, I guess, Jason, what is your side of that? Why do you think that is negative reinforcement better?
It's not negative though. It's reactionary. It's not solving any problems. It's not trying to foster the community. It's just reactionary. It's like, oh, you've done something wrong, get you out. It's not dealing with the core issue. It's not dealing with the toxic culture of the forum. It's just being reactionary.
It deals with it completely directly. It deals with it in the most direct manner possible. And by the way, were we saying earlier that I was the more pissy one? Yeah, I've already won that battle. But yeah, I mean, it is exactly dealing with that sort of thing. Yeah, it is reactionary, but you can't really be prepared for everything. Yeah, you want to bring on more moderators. You want to be able to look things over. But what do they do once they're there? They have to do things to people who are being jerks.
So this is, oh gosh, I really don't want to bring myself into this because I've been a forum moderator before on different websites. I've run different websites and things along that line, and I'm trying to just base off the argument here, and which is really difficult for me. Let's be fair. This is most difficult for me because of my experience in this. So I'm going to give the point to Cosmic, and although I think Jason is right in a lot of areas regarding, that yes, you need to be tougher, and that argument was definitely brought up, and that you need to be tougher on people that are doing things wrong. Ultimately, I think that Cosmic made a better argument regarding fostering the moderator involvement, and if I can, and gosh, this is really gonna show my hand here, but the idea of my idea of a forum moderator isn't necessarily somebody that comes in and just lays down the ban hammer all the time. My idea of a forum moderator is somebody that encourages discussion within the community, within the forums. And if you're just there to do the ban hammer, then it becomes reactionary, as Cosmic was saying. So
because if moderators weren't there, there'd be no discussion on the forums. Like the players couldn't never discuss. They didn't figure out how to discuss anything on their own.
I'm not saying that, but to promote positive discussion is really what If something comes up, they should be there paying attention to the conversations that are happening and steer the conversations in the directions in a more positive direction. Is really that's kind of the way that I've always, any kind of forum that I've been a part of, that I've moderated, that I've been in charge of, it's always been that's what the moderators were there for. They're not necessarily start the discussions, but make sure that the discussions continue in a positive direction. But anyway, I know I'm showing my hand a little bit there.
People who are jerks, but anyway.
All right, so we'll move on to question 2 here, and this one's going to go to Cosmic first. And one of the things that happens a lot in MMOs, mostly, or frankly any online games, but we'll focus on MMOs here, is like scamming and griefing and hacking, and those things just kind of run rampant all over the place. You find it in every single game. I have not known an MMO where that doesn't happen. So what I'd ask is, what is the best way to punish players that do this, so that they don't do it again? What is the best way to punish players so they don't do it again? So that's the main point, is them not doing it again. Go ahead, Cosmic. What is your thoughts?
I think this was a hard one because they're always going to do it again. I mean, it's the saying that if you build it, they'll hack it, right?
Yeah.
That's what people do it just to see if it can be done. Some people do it because they like it cheating. Like, there's going to be people out there who are always going to hack, cheat, scam, do whatever, because that's what they do and they enjoy doing it. It's difficult to find a viable deterrent for a lot of these things, because often you get people banning accounts, and then they'll just create another account, and hackers are clever. They find ways to do all kinds of things, right? I think in terms of deterrence, the only one I can think of that would bother me personally if I was doing this is probably getting an actual legal fine. And I know that would be ridiculously hard to do and actually implement and things like that. But honestly, I couldn't think of another deterrent because this is a virtual game, right? You ban my account. Oh, so what? Like, I lost a bit of time, right? But I haven't really lost anything. I think if you want to stop people from doing it again, I think that maybe you should find a way to hold these people accountable in a legal sense and, you know, implement a monetary fine on them. And I think that would be a pretty big deterrent for, especially, that would be a huge deterrent for, especially for first timers. I think that long-term serial people aren't going to do it. Like, they just don't care, right? Especially like scam artists who burn hundreds and hundreds of thousands off World of Warcraft gold, but you know, whatever. I think that's the only deterrent. I mean, what else can you do? If you ban account, you haven't lost anything. You need to have something accountable, and that it needs to hit them in a real life way. Because if you don't hit someone in a real life way, you're not really affecting them in any kind of sense, and it doesn't change the behavior. And it's something that we've seen a lot in video games culture recently, is that, you know, accountability is starting to come in real world. Yeah. And it's just, and it's something that it needs to happen, because this is the problem. Like with forums, people are jerks because they have no accountability, because they're behind a keyboard and a monitor, and they think it's okay. So that's the only thing I could really think of kind of bridging. I don't, because, you know, you don't want to throw them in prison for hacking World of Warcraft. So, I mean, I would, but, you know, fair. So I think you should just stop some, like, you know, have a process of a system of where you can find out who they are, who their accounts are, what, you know, what the real world person is, and slap a fine on them. See if they do it again.
So legally putting a fine on them. All right, Jason.
All right, my official answer to the question of what can be done about this stuff, my official answer is nothing, really. for exactly what he brings up. He's like, yeah, they're just going to do it again.
Yeah.
They're going to come back. They've been shown to do this. 15 plus years we've had MMOs. The hackers, the cheaters, the botters just keep coming back. And I don't even think a financial fine would work, because they're already they already have that. You know, when you buy World of Warcraft, your account gets banned. Well, now you're out the $50 or whatever you paid for the box, or you're out, or if you run a Chinese gold farming, whatever, you know, big deal. You're making $10,000 a month, but you're gold farming. Oh, they just fined you $100. Yeah, who the hell cares? So, you know, you got to keep doing it in that case. So yeah, I mean, I hate to sound like I don't have a solution, but I really don't, because it's been around for so long.
It's difficult. But I think as a deterrent, I would just argue that as a deterrent, it's not going to deter most people, but I think that first timers who are just thinking about it, who are like dipping the toe into the water, so to speak, I think if you slap like a couple $100 fine on them, probably won't do it again.
Well, I think when they first get themselves banned and they lose the money from the hack and the account or whatever. You know,
but I mean, that does work in some things. But again, there's a lot of games now that especially get hacked and stuff, they're free to play games. So they don't really have the subscription where they've lost.
Well, they still pay for the hack, so they paid $20 to hack sites or us or whatever. So, you know, there's that too. It's not like it's just hacks.
Well, yeah, but I kind of agree. There isn't really that much you can do.
I'm not even remotely being as optimistic as you. See, again, I'm trying to be as negative as possible. That doesn't win me. So you got the Green Lantern shirt. You're all about the light. I'm all about the darkness here. I got the black shirt.
Yeah, and hack sites are us is not a real site. Well, it might be, but don't go there. Even if
but they'll steal your login info as soon as you go there. So,
that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So I guess
I do like the prison idea, though. If you can implement that, just toss it.
The prison idea. The prison. I do have a question though regarding that. What are they doing now that seems to be working at least well enough? Like what? I guess that would be a big question, because I think that, and I think there is an answer to it. But what are they doing now that is good enough, that does deter at least some hacking, some griefing, those kinds of things? And actually, this is a question for Jason. I want to kind of clarify the do nothing kind of aspect of this.
Well, I'm not a security expert, so I don't know exactly what kind of coding and stuff goes into finding and detecting hacks as well. Obviously, you keep progressing on that front. You keep trying to figure out ways to detect hacks and whatever. And I mean, I'll say I look, because I follow, because they're really vocal, or Now less so now that Smedley's not so much in charge. But you look at the stuff that Daybreak's been doing.
Yeah.
I don't think that the public shaming and stuff is all that effective because, again, they just don't care. I mean, again, it's an attempt. It's nice to see they make that attempt. And at least in terms of, I mean, I'll take PlanetSide as an example. I know when that first came out, there was a lot of stuff going on, and they've really, I think, meddled that down a lot. They don't really see any hacks in that anymore. I think H1Z1 still is getting is still a little squirrely on that front, but I think they are making improvements there. But yeah, I mean, just in terms of the technical aspect of it, I think that's the best you can do is just you keep trying to make games that are less easy to hack or.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Like, the backend security is a massive thing, making your code obscure and making sure your client's secure and stuff like that. But is it really a deterrent? Like we said, there's just people out there who are going to do it just to see if it can be done.
I will say actually. Go ahead if you finish.
I was just asking the question: is the backend security really a deterrent? Yes, it makes it harder, but there's people out there who are just going to do it anyway. Yeah, and they're going to go at it, and they're going to go at it.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking though, when I was talking with Victor at Wargaming a while back, he talked about how World of Tanks, all the math is done server side, not client side, so it's basically unhackable. You can't have wall hacks or anything like that. So that's a nice little technical thing that can help.
I think so just to clarify for the audience watching this, Jason isn't saying do nothing. It's just nothing.
That's pretty much nothing. What I heard. That's what I heard. That was the answer I heard.
Do nothing more. Okay, let me clarify this. Then it's not do nothing. It's just
all your programmers or whatever. I'm just
it's do nothing more than you're already doing because you think that they're So but I mean, taking that into account, and I do believe that he had some good arguments regarding, well, the people are already out the money, out the money already, and because of costs of subscriptions and costs of buying the game again, that sort of thing. And the other thing he's the question of like gold farmers and those kinds of things. They have thousands of dollars. I mean, that's a huge business, and so that's not. I don't think that's a huge deterrent.
I don't think there's a particular, right now at least, there's no deterrent that you can put in force that will blanket deter everyone.
Right.
Because prison time. I kind of like that stuff.
Prison.
But like, I mean, you get like you say, you get hackers, you get scammers, you get all kinds of things. You've got gold farmers who will just foot a fine, no problem. But then you have the 18-year-old who's just been hacking for like a month, who can't afford a fine. And
but do you think then that is going to
stop him again?
Do you think that's going to be a deterrent? Because I mean, if you
get a speeding ticket, kind of makes you think about speeding again, right?
Yeah, but they're already the possibility of them getting banned from the game is already there. They're already the possibility of them losing the money that they're spending on the game.
That and kind of the difference that we all talk about too is a speeding ticket has your name on it. It was Jason Winter made the speeding.
But that's what I'm talking about. Talk about legally holding them accountable.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That would require more accountability on the internet in general and stuff.
Right. Exactly. But it's one of those things. But it's like we both said. You're just not going to stop it.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and make a call on this one too. And this one's the reason I'm going this way is just
I answered the question. He didn't. he just said do nothing. It's not an answer.
The reason I'm going this way is because I think that I don't think that there is a good number. Like there is, I mean, other than jail time, that I don't think, and which I don't think can ever happen. Let's get real. I just don't think that there's ever going to be a legal system to where people are going to.
That's a great plot for a dystopian future movie. If you commit a crime in an MMO, you get put in jail for real. Yeah.
That's right.
It'd be a good anime.
So I'm gonna give the point to Jason on this one because I mean, they really the stuff that they're doing in the background is constantly improving all the time. So nothing more than not do nothing because but
do nothing. Just leave a comment and just tell him that was the answer.
So. Don't leave a comment. Do nothing. Just like
do nothing. Do nothing. Exactly.
The comment is nothing. So there are 7 billion people on the planet. If we get like 50 comments, I'll assume there was 7 billion minus 50 people that agreed with me.
There you go. There you go. All right. So so this is this last question is the last of the Vikings questions, and he, like I said, he regularly watches this show, and thank you so much for sending in these questions. And he says he wonders if it's time to, if the genres that are presented in MMOs, you know, currently we have like either a sci-fi genre or we have a fantasy genre, which is like taken over all of MMOs. I wonder if he wonders if it isn't time to start combining some of these genres. You know, I'm guessing he's taken a cue. He didn't actually say this in his question, but I'm guessing he's kind of taking a cue from Landmark, how it kind of combines all sorts of genres together. So I asked these guys to build me an MMO that combines the different genres together that would be fun to play. So let me throw this one to Jason first, and let me know what you got.
Well, if fantasy is like the default genre for an MMO, or occasionally sci-fi, I feel like when we talk about survival games, it's all about this like post-apocalyptic thing. Usually there's zombies around. A few of them do things a little different, like Rust or Ark, but it's mostly just, it's the same thing. It's like there's this bland, you know, normal-looking world. You know, got some animals, maybe dinosaurs. Okay, that's great. But after, you know, the first, you know, hour of seeing people play Ark, I was like, yeah, okay, it's a dinosaur. He's going to stab it a few times. It's going to die, whatever. I think there should be more variety in survival games. And I think you should have more fantastic worlds. Either you could go with fantasy, which could be just fine. But if you had like a fantasy survival game, it wouldn't be, go through houses and find guns. It would be travel across a volcano that's spewing lava over the world, or this great chasm, and maybe the monsters are different. There could be all sorts of dragons. There could be giant trolls and so on. You know, you could have, in addition to normal weapons, you could find things that maybe give you magical powers or whatever. You could play as different races, each with their own advantage or disadvantage. You could basically do a lot of the same things you find in a survival game. You know, go and hunt people, maybe build bases or whatever. But you at least be able to do it with a more interesting world than just the standard run around, find 2 sticks to rub together and make a bigger stick so you could hit the zombie. You know, I just think that it needs to be a little more fantastic. It needs to be a little more wild. That's something that kind of really bugged me too when I first heard about H1Z1. I was like, oh, they're going to do a survival game. It's more zombies, just another world with some zombies in it.
So you
guys made EverQuest. You could have done something a little different from it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're looking for a fantasy survival
or sci-fi, even sci-fi. Maybe you're dumped on another planet. There are alien creatures trying to kill you, and you gain psionic powers or something, and whatever, a Mass Effect kind of thing. So yeah, just something that makes the world look a little different. Because again, there isn't a survival game I've seen that doesn't look like a normal world with trees and maybe a beach and water. I want to see a volcano. I want to see this mystical typhoon or something like that.
I think I like this idea of the fantasy survival game.
Yeah,
that's good. I think we can kind of stick with that because that's definitely different. It's not something that we've seen before, and it is combining those two genres together. And
it would allow you to have, like I said, have different character customization, different races. That's something else you don't really see in a survival game. You're always a human.
Yeah,
here you could have maybe an orc would be better with melee weapons, an elf would be better with magic or bows or whatever. So you can have all sorts of different things like that too.
All right. I'm done with that. All right. So Cosmic, what was your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually took this question slightly differently.
Okay.
And I didn't take it just in terms of like narrative theme or like world setting theme, but I also took it as in like the theme of that it tends to be MMORPG or MMOFPS. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
There's not that much diversity in the MMO space as it is, and I think that narrative themes do need to mix more because it's very boring getting fantasy, sci-fi, fantasy, sci-fi. But I think that part of fostering that diversity on a narrative point is also going to come from a mechanical standpoint. And I would really like to see a game that is not only incorporates elements of an MMORPG, but also incorporates elements of other video game genres. So, for example, the one I thought of, because I've just been to see, going to see the new Dragon Ball Z film in Atlanta soon, and I love Dragon Ball Z so bad, and I really want an MMO that is a Dragon Ball Z MMO, and I want that MMO to have RPG progression, right?
Right.
But when you go and fight someone, it switches and goes into a beat 'em up, right? That would be cool.
Like a fighting game, like Street.
Yeah, like a fighting game. So
Okay,
it's
alright.
almost like to like something like Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse that just came out a while back.
Oh yeah, we're totally familiar with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Huge Dragon Ball Z fan here.
It's great. It's great. Just trust me. Go watch it. It's awesome.
Sorry,
And
Larry and I are both
seriously,
over the age of 20.
but like just it doesn't have to be necessarily Dragon Ball Z. It can be any kind. You could have a Street Fighter one, Or
Oh yeah,
something
no,
like
I
that.
get it. I think that's an interesting concept.
I
So,
think that
go ahead.
overall, I think that the mechanics need to be switched up as well, because it kind of allows you to do more narratively than just the same thing over and over in different clothing. I would like to see that. I think that would be really. Would it work? I don't know. Would it be interesting to see it tried? Yeah.
I do have to question this, and I think that's definitely different from a mechanical standpoint. I like that, the idea that you jump in and it's more of a Street Fighter kind of feel to it. I do have a couple of like mechanical questions that kind of create a little bit of a struggle here.
Mm-hmm.
First off, multiplayer. How does that work? It'd be team versus, not necessarily. Obviously 1v1 is really easy to do, but how do you get beyond that? How do you get beyond 1v1?
There's plenty of ways to do it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to. I didn't say it was going to be like a 2D fighter, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be 2D. You can have like third-person fighting games that you have multiple things, and you've just got to try and work it out. You could have some sort of engagement system that, like I recently saw Ubisoft's upcoming game For Honor, where it's like a melee third-person multiplayer game, and essentially the system they have is like you basically get locked in with like several different players. You get locked into a small zone, and it's basically about directing your blocks into on-course. So essentially you're controlling your player's arms, and you have to hit the thumbsticks to block in different directions.
Okay.
And that's the kind of thing that they're going for, which I thought was quite interesting. And there's plenty of ways that you could do it. I think with multiplayer having, more than 1v1 in a fighter. Like I say, would it be perfect? Probably not. Would it be a kind of a niche thing? Maybe, but it would definitely get other things thinking about moving into trying incorporating new mechanics into the MMO genre as a overall, because I think that's one of the biggest problems. It's like nothing ever changes. So it's really boring.
Again, I'm probably taking over these arguments, but I do question though. How is that different from like an action game that currently exists? Let's take DC Universe Online as an example of where it could possibly go, because DC Universe Online it's an action game, and there are combos similar. I mean, not the same. Obviously, it's a little bit different than you would find in kind of a fighting game. Although obviously it's a little bit different because it's an MMO. It has to be handled a little bit differently.
Well, the thing is with DC, it looks like a fighter, but it's not really. It's still at its core an MMORPG. It's still about stats, right? Whereas a fighter wouldn't be. It would be about
pure skill.
It would be skill. Yeah.
Okay.
Like it would be.
Oh, that would never work in MMO. I can't pwn noobs with my sword
pure
of
skill.
greatness.
How is that? Okay, all right. I got a better grasp on it. Okay, I get it. So you still have so as far as the I guess the story elements, it's still RPG.
Yeah. So you've still got quests. You've still got like a really in-depth storyline. You still go to place to place. So I would like to get rid of anything text based, because that's boring.
All right. So now comes. All right. I guess this is the part of the argument where I have to say, Jason, why is yours going to beat that one? Why would yours do better than than what Cosmic is presenting here?
I think because what I'm presenting is going to be a little more simple, a little more easily understandable, I think, because it still builds upon the sort of survival genre thing that we already know about. You know, you're still going to be going around looking for things occasionally. You're going to be shooting people in the head with fireballs or crossbows or whatever. Whereas I think what he's got is a tougher sell. I think it's a lot harder to implement. And we talk about some of the issues that we, trying to implement that sort of thing. So I think it's just less realistic to think that it could happen in the way that he envisions it.
Why are more people going to buy yours?
Because, like I said, it already builds upon something that they're already kind of familiar with. But it rarely do MMOs are they just completely out of the blues, totally new, crazy thing like nothing else ever done before. They usually do kind of mix and merge a few things here and there, take a little bit from here or there or whatever. And that's kind of what I think I'm doing a bit more than what he's doing with his. I think he's going maybe a little too far outside in terms of what could actually be done and what could be more accepted.
Okay. Gosh, this. So Cosmic, I guess the same question. Why would yours sell better than Jason?
Jason said that his would be more familiar. Well, familiarity breeds contempt. People get bored of the same thing in different clothing. Look at WildStar. People were so bored with that, like straight in, because it was a World of Warcraft clone again. And people are bored of the same thing over and over. It doesn't matter how nicely you dress it up. It's the same thing. And people get bored of that. And it's time for people to push the boundary. Is my game harder to create, harder to implement? Yes. But isn't anything worth doing harder to do? You've got to find it. And something that's hard, it pushes developers to be innovative. That's how innovation happens. Indie developers create some fantastic games because they have fewer resources, so they have to innovate and be creative. And it's the challenges that make the game, not the story and the setting.
But Larry was asking why would mine sell better, and that I think is right there.
Well, I think mine would, but it's new, it's fresh. People want something new. It's come to the point now.
People always say they want something new, but then as we were saying before, oh my God, look at the World of Warcraft expansion. Oh God.
Well, maybe so, but either so, people still will flock to a new game, to a new IP.
If it's well done.
Huh?
If it's made by Blizzard.
If it's made by Blizzard, yeah. I don't know.
You need to get your game done by Blizzard, and it'll be successful.
Oh gosh, this is.
I mean, I don't know. I think if you talk about sales, I think there's no reason why my game wouldn't sell as well as his. I mean, new IPs come out all the time in MMOs. I mean, yes, it's the same MMO dressed up differently, but in like Star Wars came out, there were people bought that. WildStar came out, people bought that.
Not as many as Star
Wars. They hated it afterwards.
Not nearly as many.
They hated it, but you can't
achieve. Sold like 2 million copies, so
2.8, something like that.
Yeah.
So all right, so this is.
You make a survival game, slap something on, and it'll sell 2 million copies, no problem.
I'm gonna make a call here, and there was one thing that was kind of looking for that I didn't hear from you, Cosmic. So I'm giving the point to Jason, but this is totally based on the argument is that Jason shot yours down with with that regarding the ideas of people are going to buy and people are just going to buy it more. It's more familiar, that sort of thing. And
I disagree.
But I was waiting for you to say something along the lines of, well, the survival genre is totally overdone, and it just putting it in another setting isn't going to sell anymore.
But I didn't. I said that anyway. I said that his game is the same thing, it just dressed up differently. Like,
but he bringing statistics back. Anyway, I have to give the point to Jason on this one, only because I didn't feel that I felt that his argument was quite a bit stronger, and it's only based on the argument because I really like. I am a fan of like total skill based games, and yeah, so I would actually buy Cosmic's
play your crappy games.
So anyway, so this is all right. So this last question then is going to be this is the make it or break it question, because Jason has 2 points and Cosmic has 1, and this one I'm going. this is on the same theme, you know, of the first two questions. I asked simply, which gaming company handles horrible people in its community the best? Every community has horrible people. You know it. I mean, every MMO does. Which 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 company handles it the best? And I'm giving this one over to Cosmic first.
None of them do it the best, I think.
Wow. So now the nothing is acceptable, huh?
I think,
Oh,
honestly, like, they all have good points and bad points, and they all have periods of doing stupid stuff and then doing good stuff, and it was really hard to choose. I just chose something that I remembered a while back that I found relatively funny, which was ArenaNet, Guild Wars 2. Because they actually, I know that, like Jay said, he didn't like the public shaming stuff, but I actually quite enjoy it. Because it is a little bit funny where the Guild Wars 2 security lead, Chris Cleary, he actually, there was a guy who was hacking the game, and essentially he was unkillable and dealt tons of damage in the world PvP. And he did this for like 3 weeks. And like people had recorded videos of him, like just owning everyone. So Chris Cleary went into his account, went into one of the cities, completely stripped him naked, like made him commit suicide off the thing, and then banned his account. I just like it's like the conversation we talked about earlier. You can't stop hackers from hacking, right? You're never going to stop this. But I think that maybe some people took the whole thing in poor, you know, saying it was poor taste and you should be, you know, spending your time dealing with the problems, you know. But it's one of those things that I think that you need to kind of take it with a pinch of salt and just try and have a bit of fun with it. I mean, yes, the guy was going for 3 weeks and killing everyone in PvP and making everyone's life miserable. And doing something like that, you know, posting a video about, you know, taking over his account and banning him and stuff, it's fine. Some people found it funny, some people not. But I think you have to kind of, what can you do? Is there a best way to handle stuff like that? I mean, yes, just banning them, like you said, but we all know that banning is just reactionary. And that video itself, it was trying to be funny with the whole situation. And it was trying to make a point, I guess. It didn't really work, like it never will. But I think trying to have a little bit of humor about the whole thing while you are banning people kind of is a little bit funny. I think it, you know, and because it's one of those things, you need to keep the community on your side from this, and not just let them leave in droves.
So I'm going to go ahead and have Jason answer this question as well, because his answer is going to be really funny.
Is it?
And we'll see. I'll talk about what we're going to do after that. So Jason, go ahead, give your answer and what your argument is regarding it.
Well, let's see. Based on the shirt I'm wearing, I'm going to answer ArenaNet. That was my opinion too. Partially because, you know, as we said, you know, when moderate people go to forums, they get shot down and abused. So that's why I don't usually go to forums. The only one I ever hang out on at all is the Guild Wars 2 forums. In part because I think they do a really good job of moderating them. Like I said before, you know, they have that zero tolerance policy, and they do bring down the ban hammer pretty hard. I like how some of their, you know, Gail Gray is one of their lead like forum community lady. She gets on there a lot and talks about, you know, what we're doing and why this person was you know, banned or so on and so forth. So they do a good job of communicating that sort of thing. And they don't listen to the whole, oh, but freedom of speech, they shouldn't delete my post just because. Yeah, you know, they're going to do that because it's their forum. They didn't have one for Guild Wars 1, probably for this exact reason, because they knew people would be jerks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely like them. Now, in terms of the video, in terms of the suicide video, I'm kind of on the fence about this. I mean, yeah, to me, it was kind of like, haha, funny. He wouldn't got himself killed or whatever.
But it can be taken the other way.
Yeah, because you know, for a lot of people, you know, some not a lot necessarily, but some people are like, you know, suicide's a real thing. You shouldn't make a joke out of it. I could see that there could have been ways to
do it differently.
Yeah, like if you'd have videoed him, like whatever, like if he's got like a legendary on him, you know, do the video of pulling the legendary off. Click it. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Just make sure he sees that and cries from it or something like that. So yeah, you could have done that without introducing that kind of like real world drama into it. By and large, I think ArenaNet does a really good job with that sort of thing. And that's not. I'm not just kissing up to Ruby. So.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think the video could have been done differently. I don't think it was. I think it was one of those things where he just went in and had something in his head like, that's funny. Let's do that. That'll work. And then did it. And then afterwards thought, oh, I could have probably done that.
So Larry, I think you should just give each of us half a point for this.
Well, okay. So what I'd like to hear though, maybe I'm going to see if I can award a point in this situation. If not, we'll go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and well. I can't award a point. I'll award no point and maybe go into another question. But what I'd like to pull something out of here. So I do see a difference in this, and one of them being, the in game, the way things are handled in game, because we there has been several examples, and I can recall several examples from both Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 of situations that have happened in game. And I'd like to kind of compare and contrast the way they do things in the forum, and then the ways they do things in game. And if we can, throw the in game stuff over to Cosmic, because that's what he's talking about. Let's throw the forum stuff over to Jason. So let's kind of compare and contrast that, and why is one way of handling? Because they are, from the way I've seen it, there are two different ways of handling things. They have handled the in game stuff different than they handle the forum stuff. And so, what is your thought on the forums? And well, actually, Jason's kind of already talked about that. So, Cosmic, regarding the ways they handle things on the forum versus in game, what are your thoughts on that?
I think specifically the video, like we said, like, could have been done slightly better.
Or Jason
more
said,
forethought. Well, whatever. I'll take credit. But I think it could have been done slightly better. But I think overall they do respond pretty fast to stuff in game. Usually, I think if it's something that's particularly difficult to track down, because I mean, let's be honest, these particularly hackers, they are smart. They're not stupid, so they're not like holding a red flag over the head saying, "I'm a hacker." So it is sometimes a little bit difficult to track down. But I think that overall they are pretty fast and fair for the most part. I've never really heard Guild Wars 2 just banning people unfairly, or in the cases, I think there was a case of Star Wars: The Old Republic a long time ago, where they banned a load of accounts who used a glitch, even though a lot of those accounts maybe only used it once or didn't realize they'd done it or done it by mistake, and they just literally just brush stroked it and just went, "You're all banned." And I've never really heard of Guild Wars doing that particularly. But for the most part, to be honest, they're the same as most of the companies, though. I mean, they're okay.
Apparently BioWare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
go ahead.
It's kind of a difficult question.
It is. There are all kind of difficult questions.
Most companies do have good points and bad points and periods of craziness and then periods of stability. It's like it's the nature of MMOs almost.
All right, so what are your thoughts on that, Jason? Let's see if we can get some final thoughts on.
Yeah, I mean, now the two MMOs I played the most are Guild Wars 2 and Lord of the Rings Online, and in both of those, I played a little bit of WoW, not a ton, just a little bit, and it is really kind of a world difference going from one of those games I've played with really good communities. Obviously, good people, I think, in general, and good moderation, as opposed to having played even just my little bit of WoW or some other games where, any MOBA, good Lord. Played one game of Hero of the Storm, got yelled at for being a noob, and never played again. So. But yeah, I wish MOBAs could have better stuff on those fronts. But anyway, getting off the track a little, yeah. Just like you said, you just don't hear about that sort of thing. Now, ArenaNet did have a thing where there was early on, I think some item was being sold for supposed to be 40,000 karma, and it was sold for like 4 karma or something like that.
Yeah.
And they did separate it out. It's like if you bought one of these, okay, fine, no problem. If you bought like 100 of them or 1,000 of them, then they took some action, took that away. I think they only gave like 3-day ban. Maybe it was permanent for people who were really crazy or whatever. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they did separate that out from like the Star Wars Old Republic example that you give. So, yeah. On the one hand, a number of people who do any of those sort of things is pretty small and doesn't really impact your bottom line. So it's not like you're really going to be financially insolvent if you do ban 1,000 people, because if you have 500,000 people, what's 1,000 really? But the fact they did take the time to actually make sure that they got that sort of thing right, and just generally, like I said, do a good job in game and in the forums, I think is a good plus for them.
So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, anything else to say, Cosmic, before I make a call on this? All right, so
no, I kind of agree.
They do.
You're way too agreeable this one.
Yeah, I know. You guys do agree on this one, but I think because we're basing everything on the arguments here, Cosmic, I don't think you can win an argument with Jason with ArenaNet, because he knows so much more about ArenaNet.
I don't know if I have much.
So I'm awarding the point to Jason on this one, just because the facts that you brought forward, the specifics of what happened with ArenaNet in general is just. I'm sorry.
Get a point just having the shirt, right?
You get a point for and a point for having the shirt. So
so I should win 4-1.
So anyway, Jason gets that point. That also means he wins the internet. So congratulations to Jason. Cosmic, you fought amazingly as usual. I appreciate you being on the show. But, let's go to Jason first to plug your stuff and what's going on with you around the internet.
I'm starting to feel bad now. I feel like I have to throw one of these matches eventually. The person, because there were times that Cosmic was looking at me like, I'm gonna punch him. That's how I felt, man. All right, but anyway, you can find me on Twitter at WinterInformal. Find most of my writing at MMOBomb.com, and I also do bi-weekly Guild Wars 2 columns over on MMORPG.com. Just last Monday, did my impressions of the beta, a couple of the advanced classes in there.
Cool. So if you're a Guild Wars 2 fan, definitely check that out over there. Yeah, and Cosmic, your stuff. I know you're doing a whole bunch of reviews and whatnot on.
Yes, you can go watch my reviews at youtube.com/thecosmicengine, and I've got other stuff as well in places.
and his Twitter account is CosmicEngine99. Catch him there for his stuff, and his YouTube channel is amazing. I really like his YouTube channel. He gives great reviews, so check that out. And for me, if you're looking for what I do, you can follow me on Twitter at Shadow, SHADDOE. I'm also on hyperspacebeacon.com, as well as I'm on GameSkinny as well. But the big thing here is I do Hyperspace Beacon as well as Tamriel Infinium on Massively Overpowered, and I also do the comic Sword and Board, and so catch me there. And we are here. Massively Opinionated is probably switching to a little bi-weekly schedule, so look for us every other week on Wednesday. Again, follow Massively Overpowered on Twitter at Massively OP, on YouTube at Massively Overpowered. We're all over the place, either Massively OP or Massively Overpowered. Check that out. Also, Twitch channel at Massively Overpowered, and patreon.com/massivelyop. Check that out. Thanks again to my guests, Cosmic Engine and Jason Winter. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.